there and he wouldn't see her. So a few stories are there already.
I see. But I told her about her first husband in detail.
Only that he was not a nice man and that he tried to engage a black magician.
Yeah,
That part you told me.
yeah. And the second husband was her cousin who wanted to marry her. She didn't want to marry, but Baba told them to marry. And he looked after her. She had 3 sons. So the second husband took care of them because she was very, very poor. Then, where should I continue?
Where just any old place. I will put the 2 interviews together. So just whatever you think people would like to know about her.
No, that's true, but I have told about her second marriage.
Yeah.
Did I tell you that she stayed in the ashram?
And the books record that she was Mera's companion for some period of time.
Yeah.
And couldn't be separated from her by Baba's order.
You see, there was a time when Baba wanted either money and someone, so Baba kept Kharman Masi with Mera. If she was in the room, Mera was in the room, one has to be with her. If Mera went out of her room, the person must follow. So Kharman Masi was one of them. I mean that she was so close. And her second husband died. And again, I mean, by that time, her 3 sons, naturally,
They were from by the first husband.
yeah, they were from the first husband. And they were then working. All the 3 sons were working, but they were not educated. So they were working, but very, very meager pay. But they used to sustain themselves. Then the oldest son got married. Sarosh got married, and he has a son too. And Mehran was the youngest.
And
Homi was the eldest. And Homi was so different. I mean, he couldn't adjust in life because he was normal, but yet he couldn't cope up with life. So he couldn't get.
It sounds like he was a Westerner.
Huh?
It sounds like he was a typical Westerner.
So Baba told Nariman to give him some job. I mean, he couldn't do any job, but Nariman kept him and for some time. Then Kharman Masi, Baba, of course, sent everyone away because he went into new life. And naturally, Kharman Masi was also sent away to Bombay, and she lived with her married son and the other 2 sons, and they were getting along. Then, of course, it so happened that the eldest son who was married, his wife wanted to stay separate. I mean, as usual in the family, there is always misunderstandings and all that. So they wanted to stay alone. So Kharman Masi went and stayed in a small room. There was Baba Lover, and they had a small kitchen, very small room. I tell you, so small that very, very small. And she stayed with her 2 sons there, and everything was in it. Cooking, there was naturally bathing and everything. And the 2 sons, Momi and Mehran were earning a little, and they pulled along. And when Baba used to come to Bombay, naturally sometimes he used to meet very intimate ones like my family and Kharman Masi, Dina Talati, so all lovers of Baba. So Kharman Masi also used to come in. So one day she was there and Baba said that I suffer so much. You all have no idea. So Kharman Masi said, Abba, why don't you give a little to me? And I pitched and said, do you know what you are asking? I said, can you ever ask Baba to give his suffering? But then what happened? Within a few days, her youngest son was working on the ship. They were so poor, so sometimes he used to smuggle from the ship. So one day he was caught smuggling liquor. I mean, why he was smuggling? So that he could naturally sell and earn more money. And he was caught and was sent to jail. And naturally, in those days, going to jail was something one couldn't bear, and Kharman Masi couldn't take it. And she was crying and crying. And I said, look, see, you asked Baba, now that you are suffering and you can't bear it. Whatever it may be, but that is what happened. You see, Baba taught us in little ways. Just do what I tell you and don't ask anything. Like he also told us, I mean much later, that Nariman and me, when we came from Bombay, and always we would first sit in the hall and Baba would inquire, how are you, how is your health? Nariman had eye trouble, so he would inquire about the eye. I had chronic cold, so he would inquire about my cold. Baba would ask Nariman about how is the business and all that. So somewhere in 1967 or so, he said, Baba said, I suffer so much that I just give you drops, thereby making us understand that whatever he gives, we must just take it with grace and deal with it. And he helps us to deal with it. So he said, I just give you drops. So whatever he wanted to give, he gave. But we must never ask. So coming back to Kharman Masi's story, for some time, Baba used to come very often to our apartment in Bombay. So the next time he came to our apartment, maybe, I don't remember exact time. And again, Baba called a few intimate ones, and one of them was Kharman Masi. And I told Baba about Kharman Masi's problem. And Kharman Masi came, and Baba said, no. Meanwhile, what happened, that she was crying, and naturally she told Baba, and the son was freed from the jail. It was impossible, but then Baba came to Bombay, and when Kharman Masi came to see Baba, Baba said, for your sake, I did this. He would have never come out of the jail, but for your sake, I saved him. So that was the incident that everyone had to learn, that keep your mouth shut and don't ask Baba. Baba said, don't ask me anything. If you want to ask, asked to love me more and more, to surrender to me more and more, to trust me more. Ask for that, but never ask any material things or anything else. So that was one of the incidents. And she was like one of my family. She was very, very poor. I used to go and see her, meet her. She was old. And then one day, again, Baba used to come very often, and naturally Baba used to see her often. And that incident, I think I told you that one day, there were times when Baba didn't see anyone. So one day we were having lunch, Baba and the men, and I was on the dining table. And there was a knock on the door. So I just went and saw, and it was Kharman. Baba told me that don't tell anyone that I'm coming to Bombay. So even my family didn't know, my sisters and my father. So nobody knew that Baba was in my house. So I peeped, because I had a peephole, and I saw Kharman Masi. Now, she was like a mother to me, older person. And I said, how to? And Baba said, don't. I said, Baba, Kharman Masi is here. Baba said, don't tell her. Don't tell her that he was there, and send her away. And I was in such a fix, and I was just for a second, split second, was thinking as to what to do. So then Baba smiled and said, no, tell her that I'm here, but that I don't want to see anyone. So I opened the door and said, hello, Kharmasi. Baba is here, but he doesn't want to see anyone. And she couldn't, she was shocked in a sense that she heard that Baba was there. So that was enough for her. So I said, go, okay. And she just went down. Because my apartment was on the first story, according to your second story. Then she went away, and then I came, and Baba said, just smile, and said, go, call her back. So I ran down there, and she was just going, and it was in the compound. I said, Kharmasi, come. Come and see Baba. But Baba said, don't ask any questions. Just fold your hands. Just say Jai Baba and go away. And she came, and she was in ecstasy, so happy. So she came and just said Jai Baba, and Baba just said, okay, go. That was a very, very touching and sweet incident. Baba's love. She immediately obeyed and didn't feel that, she didn't know what to feel. She didn't feel that, oh, Baba didn't see me or nothing. Okay, just obedience. She just turned back and went away, and Baba called her.
She raised her children in the ashram, did she not?
Yeah.
They were there in the 30s.
They were there in the 30s, and the two boys were in the ashram. But then naturally, Baba used to keep some and then send away. So after some time, he sent her and the two boys away. And that's how they lived in Bombay. Now, so she was old. She didn't keep good health. Even a younger son, Merwan, who was in jail, he was also very frail. They were so poor. But Kharman Masi was very, very contented person. She was so contented. Then I mean, that's how.
What were her
Huh?
specific? So she was taking care of Mara, or what?
No. The- you know, you see, she was in the ashram with the two boys.
Right.
Baba sent her away. I mean, the timing was in 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
So she was sent away, and then she lived with her three sons. The son got married, and then again Baba called her because the two sons were already earning, and Baba called her in the ashram, and the three sons stayed together, though the older one was married, and Kharman Masi was in ashram, and Baba kept her with Mera for some time. Now I don't remember exactly how many years or what. And then I just wonder whether it was, because now my memory is also fading a lot.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Pleader left his ashram after Raja Gopi Chand, and he must have gone to Bombay.
Yeah.
And somehow he became part of their family.
Yeah, he
for
stayed
some
with them.
time.
You see, he stayed with them. You see, there was a chawl. You know, in chawl means people were staying. There were room, and there were two. Three sons and pleader. But it was very difficult, and naturally, one of the reasons was that pleader was there, and that's also one of the reasons why Masi separated and left and stayed on her own with her two boys. And pleader used to stay with her eldest son and his wife.
So she and the boys one place, Pleader and the eldest son
Yeah,
another.
but for some time they were together. For some time. But then naturally, I mean, you know how in family misunderstandings take place and something happened and they were separated, yes. Yes, pleader was staying with the eldest son and his wife.
I think I remember you're saying that the eldest son had the most education and
Yeah.
the best job,
Yeah.
and that the other two had barely enough to
No.
get by.
He had a good job, therefore he could get married. And he could be on his own.
But because of the marriage, he also had to support his wife
Yes.
and child eventually.
Naturally.
So there wasn't much he could do to help Kharman.
No. It was very meager money that her two sons used to bring, and she used to support herself. Now Baba used to come, and naturally Kharmasti used to visit our house and see Baba. So one day, I mean, we all knew that no matter what, we have to save a little and give it to Baba. So she, even though she was so poor, she used to save little. And then one day when she came to Baba, she gave a packet to Baba. So Baba said, "How did you manage?" "Oh, Baba, it's my pleasure to give it to you." "Okay." Baba took it and gave her back and said, "I've taken it, now you take it, and henceforth never give me anything." Because, so that was it. But she gave the packet, Baba took it and then gave it back and said, "Henceforth now never give me money." And there came a time when it was so difficult for her to pull on. So Baba used to tell me to help her a little. He gave me how much, and I now don't remember. So that was going on. We were like a family. We were like a family. Then, of course, in 60s, somewhere in the middle of 60s, she got a stroke. After years, of course. So naturally, I let Baba know that she was paralyzed. So Baba told me that take a glass of water, take my name, and just rub her body with that water, taking my name. So naturally, I went and took Baba's name and rubbed her whole body, taking Baba's name, because she was absolutely paralyzed. I mean, she couldn't, even afterwards, she could manage to sit up, not walk, but sit up and just do little things on bed afterwards, because otherwise she would have been completely paralyzed. That Sue's two sons were not capable of looking after her and money and all that, so that was it. And she lived her life. But I tell you that she was so contented. She just accepted everything that Baba gave her. All the suffering, all her life she suffered so much. I mean, I told you about her first husband. I mean, she suffered so much. She didn't want to marry, and Baba forced her to marry a second husband, and he also died and all that. And then Baba dropped the body. And she cried and cried that why did he leave me in this condition and why did he go away? Why didn't he allow me to die? And naturally I used to say, but we must accept Baba's wish and do it. But because when Baba dropped his body, she couldn't come here. Because she was completely in bed. So that also she felt very bad.
She was health-wise, what was wrong with her?
Huh?
Health-wise, what was wrong with
I can't hear.
It was stroke,
She had a stroke.
Stroke. She had a stroke.
her? I see.
She had a stroke. She was paralyzed, and Baba told me to just rub her body with the water, and therefore at least she could sit up in bed, not get up, not walk. She had to be looked after. So when Baba dropped her body, naturally she couldn't come here, and that also she felt. But Baba always in his own way looks after everyone. So naturally she felt very deeply, cried and cried. And yet, I mean, Baba gave her something that satisfied her. And she, I think, lived for a couple of years and died.
Another stroke?
She was already in the process of dying. Yeah. And in the end, naturally, she was absolutely in bed, couldn't do anything. And it was Baba's compassion. She could have lived a number of years, but it was Baba's compassion and took her away. And she died.
Which year was that?
That is very hard for me to say. You see,
70,
Baba,
71,
69, 70,
71, 72.
maybe 71, 70, because she died soon after. So maybe 70, 71, 70, at the most 71, I think.
And what's become of the two younger boys?
Well, the youngest one was not keeping well. So he also died.
Abnormal condition.
And the older one uh, lived there in that small room. And naturally, he was just earning. But then in the end, he couldn't even work with Nariman. So when Kharman Masi died, before she died, Arnavaz, look after my homie. Homie means his eldest son. I didn't promise her because I never give promise to anyone. But she just told me, please look after my homie. And I didn't say yes, but I just listened. So after she died, naturally, whatever Baba wanted me to give to Kharman Masi, I continued giving him. Because that sustained him. Hardly, but that sustained him. And so every year I used to give him what I used to give it to Kharman Masi. And he lived like a fakir. He wouldn't cook anything because naturally kerosene was required and all that. So in the morning, they were near their house, there were restaurants. So he would go to a restaurant, have tea and just bread. That was his breakfast. And where he was living, Kharman Masi's niece, it was Kharman Masi's niece's house. And she gave that small room. And